Hello everyone, Mercurial Girl here, and this is what I'm gonna call our quick reference for astrology video. Now, when I learned astrology, I made so many charts just trying to simplify as many of the concepts as possible because I wanted to really know how to do astrology. So I wanted to share a few of those quick reference tools with you. Starting with our sun sign astrology, when someone's saying, what is your sign? Here is all of the dates for each of the signs. Now remember, this is only a tiny piece of what our whole astrology birth chart is actually telling us. So if anyone says, what's your sign? You say, let's talk deeper about what your chart says about you. But this is the quick date reference. And then let's talk about what each of the planets mean in just super simplistic terms. And this isn't just planets. I should preface just those strong placements in astrology. Starting with our rising sign, which sets the chart wheel up for our birth chart. Our rising sign is how we instinctually show up. So sometimes this is called our mask, and mask could be simplifying slightly because we're not forcefully putting this mask on. It's a way that we're commonly perceived and how we instinctually show up. Our sun is a little bit more attached to our ego, our identity. It's usually where we naturally shine, but it is not painting the picture of everything that we are. So remember, sun sign gets a little bit more emphasized than sometimes what it should and needs to, even though it can point to where we can naturally shine. The moon is our instincts, our emotions, how we comfort ourselves. There is a lot you can learn in how to connect to someone by figuring out and understanding their moon sign. Mercury is one of our other strong placements. This is how we talk, how we communicate, how we learn. And then Venus is our planet of love. It's how we approach love in general, how we approach the things that we are passionate about and into. And it also points to a bit of our relationship dynamics, what our instinct is around that. Jupiter is our planet of luck and abundance. It's like our natural, universe strengths that we are given. And then our Mars is our planet of intensity and passion and drive and energy. And even sometimes where we can get ourselves into a little bit of trouble because it has that fighting spirit behind it as well. So all the ones I just shared are known as your big six. So when someone asks what your big six are, they're looking at your rising sign, your sun, your moon, your Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Then we go into some of the more generational lumping planets. So Saturn is our planet where we really learn hard lessons and have to really figure out a lot of boundaries within stuff, figure out how to approach things in a way where we've been humbled before we get the benefit first. Saturn's our wise teaching planet. So knowing what sign and where that is at teaches us where we're going to go through a little bit more of a bumpy ride. Uranus is the planet of independence, of rebellion. It's where we have that kind of weird energy, this is who I am, no one can quite fully touch it energy. Neptune is our planet of illusions, of dreams. It has a creative nature. It also shows where we have kind of loose boundaries and maybe don't really fully have a grip on a concept in life. So looking at that can help us see kind of where one of our blurry spots is. Pluto is the planet that lumps us into the biggest generational lump, biggest group. This is showing what our generation came here to do, what we are all fighting for. Pluto is our planet of a shadowy kind of rebirth energy. It's usually where we have to learn to face vulnerability to figure out our power struggles, our control problems, what intimidates us about ourselves, and how we get other people to feel intimidated and notice us. That area of your life usually always goes through a little bumpy trial and error before it also becomes such a strength. So that has been a quick overview of the planets. Let me give you a quick reference guide to the houses in astrology. Now, house number 1 is always where our ascendant lands. This is the house of self. There's a lot of how we're perceived, how we project outward that falls into that house. So if you have more than just your ascendant sign, you really are probably wearing a planet that lands on house 1 on your sleeve as well if you have an additional planet there. House 2 is the house of personal possessions, personal finance, what we gain for ourselves. There is an element of figuring out how to make it on your own with house number 2. House 3 is the house of communication. This is we talk, how we share information. It also has to do with our immediate surroundings. So a lot of what we do within our own inner bubble, short distance travel, and just a lot of that kind of energy. House 4 is the house of home, house of family, points a lot to how we create a sense of home for ourselves and really like what family is going to mean to us based on kind of what lands there. House number 5 is our house of creativity, self-expression, inner child. It's also a pleasure house. So looking at what planets land there and what our relationship is to that. House 6 is the house of daily routine, of mind and body connection. It's also like the house of health. It points to a lot of what we need to do to kind of tune into ourselves, where we need to find balance in how hard we work at something, how we nurture and take care of ourselves. House 7 is the house of partnerships, relationships, marriage. This points to a lot of how we approach deeper relationships, how we approach intimate relationships, and maybe what could happen as far as marriage goes. 8th house is one of our dark houses. This has to do with death, sex, transformation. It's definitely one of the spiritual houses, and there is a huge component of vulnerability within the 8th house that we have to unpack. 9th house is the house of higher education, higher learning, higher knowing, and it's also known as the house of travel. So it points a lot to where we go in this life, how we learn. Do we learn from things outside of ourselves? And then, looking at what planets kind of manifest and channel that, what sign also manifests and channels that. House 10 is always close to the top of our chart. Midheaven is usually around this area. This is how we're perceived by society. This also points to how we work, what our career is, how we are going to move through that area of our life. House 11 is the house of hopes, of dreams, of friendships, of connection. There's a lot of like group energy here, community, how we interact with community, how we interact with closer friends, and then where we want to take that in bigger hopes and dreams. House 12 is the other dark house in astrology that can manifest a lot of different ways because it has a very spiritual undertone. House 12 is known as the house of the subconscious, the house of karma even. The 12th house really shows like our relationship to deep within our internal worlds. And really the house of dreams as well. Lots of subconscious information that can be found there. So that's a quick and kind of more shallow reference guide of the houses. So when you take the planets that we just shared, interact it with the houses, this is kind of where we start to get into the depths of your birth chart. Now let's do a quick reference guide for the elements within astrology. So fire rules Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Those are our 3 fire signs. Fire always has the energy of passion, of drive, like really wants to charge and go after what they want. Air signs are going to be Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Air is about higher perspective, higher knowledge. Air is always floating up above and figuring out how to break apart thoughts, combine thoughts, figure out how to think. Really strong kind of like thinker energy with air signs. Now, our earth signs are going to be Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Earth signs are our sense of groundedness. It's practical energy. It's figuring out what needs to be done. It's a goal oriented, but with not a lot of like speed. It has a very calm and practical energy behind it. And then finally, our water signs. We got Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. Water is all about like emerging, a depth, an emotional charge, figuring out the flow of the things that are unsaid, feeling into the undercurrents of feelings. And then finally, let's go over the modalities again with a quick reference tool. So within each modality, we have one of each sign. So starting with our cardinal signs, we have Aries, we have Cancer, we have Libra, and then we have Capricorn. So these are our signs that really are here to kind of start things off, to promote new ideas and get things going. Cardinal energy has a strong start and then has trouble finishing. Now let's look at our fixed signs. So we have Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio. So fixed energy is going to be a lot more kind of steady in what they know. There is an energy that is a lot more consistent. There's also a really strong stubbornness with fixed signs, and that's just because they aren't being thrown off by all the chaotic energy. They are sticking to what they know and what they have deeply learned to be true within their own personal perspective. Then we have our mutable signs. So our mutable signs are Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. Mutable is all about shape shifting. It's matching the energy that is in front of you. It's molding to what the needs are based on a lot of different information coming in, both by thought and by feeling, and kind of integrating it in. Mutables are known for being so changeable, it can come off a little bit flaky, but this is because they are always learning something new and always kind of molding and adapting to what they're perceiving, what they're feeling, and what they are learning at kind of a rapid speed. I hope this quick reference video is something that you can come back to as you unpack your personal birth chart. Remember, the birth chart is so much deeper than just one placement. It's looking at your actual soul blueprint. And so there is so much additional information beyond these little quick reference tools, but it's really cool to calculate like where you have your planets, what houses they land in, how many fire signs you have, how many cardinal signs you have. Really breaking that down is a really fun way to first start unpacking and learning astrology. If you want help delving into your birth chart in a deeper way, go to sensefulwellness.com, where I offer one-on-one birth chart readings and would love to help you unpack all of it. Thank you for being here for more Mercurial Girl, and I'll see you Monday for more videos.